So I've been 3D printing for a year now, and throughout that time, I've owned my fair share of printers with my brother. I've owned this machine, the Creality K1 Max, for 6 months now, and I can honestly say this is the best 3D printer that I've ever owned. This all started from me watching Frankly Built's review video on the K1 Max, and he convinced me enough to buy one, and honestly, I don't regret it at all because this printer is so amazing. You're probably thinking, hurry up, what makes it great? Why should I buy this printer? So without further ado, let's get right into the specs. So this printer is a Core XY printer, which means the bed doesn't move back and forth this way. The bed stays flat, and the print head, as it's going around and making the print, the bed just drops down and down and down, which gives you the height. Also, this printer is 300 cube. For reference, this is how it looks 300 cube. It is a gigantic big build plate. It can do helmets in one shot. It can do mostly anything in one shot. You don't need to really split most things up. Of course, you will get the occasional print where you need to split things up and do it like that accordingly. This is a gigantic build plate for a Core XY printer. So you get the Core XY, which makes the quality even greater because you don't have the bed moving back and forth like I said. You have it staying flat, which gives you a more stable print and gives you better quality. You have a gigantic build plate, which is insane to have for a Core XY. Most Core XYs are very, very small, but this printer actually has a gigantic build plate, so you don't need to worry about that. You also get great user interface. The UI for the K1 Maxes and the K1 series in general is just insane. It uses Clipper software, so you get that touchscreen. Everything is where it needs to be. It's not really difficult to find anything. You have a bunch of settings that you can choose from and pick and choose and adjust while your print is actually going. And if you don't need to, you can just adjust it accordingly. And if you've seen in my other videos, it has a camera. It has a beautiful camera that sits inside the printer and time lapses all your prints. If you see my other videos, I love using that camera. That's probably the best, like one of the best features on the K1 Max besides the actual printer itself. And then the calibration is very easy. You hit calibrate, it calibrates right out of the box easily. It shows you where everything is with the UI, and it's just really simple to use. It really is dumbed down for the average hobbyist and new person that is 3D printing, so I highly recommend it. One last thing on the specs of the printer, it's a very big printer, but it's very compact, if that makes sense. So it won't take up a lot of space in your workspace or your factory, your room, wherever you put this printer. It will not take a lot of space because it's a big printer, but it's compacted into one thing to make it space friendly. Next, we got the quality of prints that come off the bed. This printer has given me some of the best quality that I've ever seen from any Core XY printer. Now, obviously, you have Bamboo Lab printers. Elegoo just dropped a new Core XY. Prusa has a Core XY printer that does amazing quality, but the K1 Max, with the speed output that you can put out on this printer, the quality that you get is honestly insane. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. This is just one of the pieces that I'm working on my new project, and it just went insane on the quality on that. I got another one right here. I don't know if y'all can see. Hold on. Just insane quality from every single time. Everything bad quality wise that you see on these prints has all been user error. Every single time that I get a bad print or I do something bad with the quality wise, it's all been me. It's never been the printer's fault. It's always been the way I oriented things, the way I sliced things in the software. It has never once been the printer's fault. And not only can it do normal PLA, it does silk PLA beautifully. Now, silk PLA is one of the hardest PLAs to actually lock in for older printers and dial in. This printer knocked the silk PLA out the park. I just ran it on default settings and it did it beautifully. Here's an example. If y'all are familiar with Ace's Devil Fruit from One Piece, beautiful. You can hardly even see layer lines, and it just came out so beautifully with the silk PLA. I didn't even expect it to do that, but it can run silks. I'm pretty sure it can run other materials just as well. If you're just doing it for cosplay, you're most likely going to just only use PLA, but it can do PLAs, it can do silks, it can probably do PETGs, ABS, it can do all these other materials beautifully. So I highly recommend, with the quality and the speed output you get from this printer, it is so worth it. Now, next on the list, we got reliability. Oh my gosh, this printer is so reliable. I've used the same exact nozzle for 6 months now. I have the same nozzle on the printer since I got the printer. Now, yesterday I felt it was just time to change the nozzle because I've never seen a printer go 6 months straight without a clog, without the need to change the nozzle, without the need of any maintenance. I've just never seen that before. But these printers comes with this unicorn nozzle right here. I'll put it up on the screen. Basically what the unicorn nozzle is, it has a heat break and everything with the screw on the nozzle itself, so you will get really rare occasions where the printer will clog. Here's a closer look at that nozzle. This was the nozzle that it came with on the K1 Max when I first got it, and this is the nozzle I've been using for 6 months straight. You will not need to do nozzle checks, nozzle cleanings, anything. As long as you know how to operate the printer and take the filament out and replace it and do everything, the printer will do everything else for you. It is insane. insane. The K1 Maxes and the K1 series also come with a direct drive system. It has gears, and these gears feed the filament straight to the nozzle. It has one straight path, and from the nozzle comes straight out onto the printer. It is amazing what that direct drive is. I've seen other direct drive. I've seen Creality even sell their own direct drive kits, but it does not compare to the direct drive that comes on the K1 Maxes and the K1 series, because it just works. It works out of box. It works for months. You could beat the printer up and it will still do it. I've checked on those gears and that direct drive system, not a single clog, and it looks brand new. It just works. It is insane. You will hardly get clogs, and if you do get a clog, you can just easily clean it out and it'll feed the filament right back through, and it'll do everything for you. So I highly recommend you even just give it a shot. It is amazing what this printer can do. Now, jumping from reliability, now we're going to get into the maintenance, because you will eventually need to do maintenance. It's a metal machine, metal moving parts, stuff wears and tears and stuff breaks down. So without further ado, we got maintenance. Oh my god, the maintenance on this printer is surprisingly so easy. It looks intimidating at first because you're seeing this new machine, all the motherboard, all the software, all everything. What am I looking at? But when you actually get into the maintenance, every part is clear. Creality gives you everything you need, and you can just go right into doing the maintenance. And when you even need to do the maintenance, because it's going to take months to even get to that point unless you do something wrong and break the printer yourself, or something happens with the printer, the maintenance is easy. The parts are cheap. That's for 3D printing in general. Most 3D printing parts are very, very cheap out there, but the maintenance for me has been a breeze. All I've done was take it apart, looked and checked if anything, slapped it back on, reversed the process, put it back together, and it took me about 30 minutes. It is insane how the maintenance on these new machines are and how these new machines are getting. I know Bamboo Lab, I know Prusa, I know Elegoo even is dropping their Core XYs, and the maintenance of all of those printers as well is just so easy. You could just tell like they built it for you, and you just need to print it. That's all you need to do. You don't even need to worry about anything. Jumping off that last clip, parts are pretty expensive for the K1 Max. A pack of 2 nozzles is $30. What type of economy are we living in where nozzles cost $30? $30 for a pack of 2 nozzles? That is crazy. But the way these nozzles last, you're going to replace them every 3 to 6 months probably. If you get a clog, maybe every month or two. So it's not too bad. But that is a real gripe that I have, that nozzles are $30. And I can only imagine with the extruder kit, the main gears, the nozzle, the hot end, all of those kits, which Creality does sell. I can only imagine the price for all of those kits, because parts on this printer is pretty expensive, but the maintenance is very easy. So it's kind of like a trade-off, if you would say. Pack of 2 nozzles for 30 bucks. I mean, what? Now we're gonna jump in the speed and the adjustment of the speed. Now this printer is advertised to do 600 millimeters a second. That is insanely fast for a 3D printer. And it's done it before. I printed out a Benchy just to see, like, me and my brother like, yo, can it really do 600? Let's do it. We tested it. It did it. We were both like, it was insane about the 600 millimeters a second. I do not recommend printing in 600 millimeters a second, because as much as the quality is beautiful on this printer, 600 millimeters a second is just only for speed. You're not going for quality. You're only going for, I need this now and I need it off the bed quickly. I adjusted that to 200 millimeters a second, which is still insanely fast. I'll throw up some B-roll of it. Insanely quick to do 200 millimeters a second. Beautiful quality. And you can adjust it to go slow. I went from 200 and I dropped it down to 50. I've been printing on 50 to get the quality maxed out for the stuff I need to do. And some stuff needs to go slower so the supports can do everything and I can get a successful print. So I put it down to 50 millimeters a second, thinking it's going to clog because it's moving too slow. Not a single clog. So the speed and adjusting the speed on this printer is absolutely flawless. There's nothing great, no gripe, nothing bad about adjusting the speed. You can do whatever speed you want. I do not recommend doing the 600 millimeters a second that Creality is advertising, because your quality would look like butt. Dumbing that down to 300, even 300 might be pushing it. I have not tried it yet, but 200 I found is like the sweet spot of speed and reliability and quality. And also it cuts my times down. If you watch my other videos, I keep talking about how I cut the time in half. Usually a 24-hour print, if I run it at 200 millimeters a second, will be done in like 14 hours. Now, I've been glazing this printer, rightfully so. I'm not sponsored by Creality. Creality, if you want to sponsor me, please give me a sponsorship. I'm begging y'all. I've been with y'all since the beginning of time. If you want to give me a sponsorship, I'm right here. As much as I've been saying this printer is beautiful, amazing, it does everything it needs to do, it does have a few flaws with it. Flaw number 1 is the loudness. This printer is insanely loud. I'll have some B-roll of it right here. It is insanely loud. At night, you can hear it through the walls. People usually recommend you don't have this printer in your room, and if you don't like loud printers and you like your beauty sleep, do not put this printer in your room. It is too loud. The fans are going off. You hear and it's like, bro, I'm trying to sleep, bro. I got work in the morning. Why is this so loud? So I do not recommend having it in your room. If you do want to have it in your room and you don't really care and you need it and you have nowhere else to put it, it can work in your room, because I have it in my room and I sleep perfectly fine because I got used to hearing this printer and I got stapled and planted in my brain of how this printer is working and going, so I can sleep through it. But if you're not a heavy sleeper and you need like quiet, do not put it in your room. And that is one of the big major flaws of this printer, is that how loud it is. High-speed printing needs high-speed cooling, and high-speed cooling needs loud and fast fans. So I understand it, but it's insanely loud. The next flaw we got on this printer is the spool holder. Now, the spool holder is planted in the back of the printer, which a lot of people do not like about this printer. Having the spool holder in the back and having to reach around, especially if you're a dude that has a printing factory and you have to move and operate through multiple printers to get to the spool holder to replace the filament, a lot of people do not like that. Now, they do come with a thing which you could print out and put the spool holder on the side. I just kept mine in the back because it's not too much of a hassle for me. I just know a lot of other people have that hassle, so I highly recommend, if you do have that hassle with the printer and you need it to not be in the back for the spool holder and you want it to be on the side, there's multiple different people online that sell, or not sell files, they give away free files for you to download and print that out for yourself. I know a lot of people do not like having a spool holder in the back, and that is a big issue with this printer as well. Last but not least on the flaws list is a very big flaw for me. I know a lot of other people do not like this as well, is the bed. The bed is a smooth PEI sheet. It is not a textured PEI sheet, so you need glue. You're telling me I'm paying $700 for a 3D printer and I need a glue stick to make it stick to the bed? What kind of shit is that? I was running with the glue because I didn't really mind it for a while, but after a while, the adhesion just starts getting like booty. You have so much glue and you have to use isopropyl alcohol to clean it. You have to go through all this stuff to get it to stick. I do not like the bed that it came with. It should have came with a textured PEI sheet. Now, thank God, people on Amazon sell a textured PEI sheet, and I bought the textured PEI sheet, never looked back because it's sticking. I don't need glue. I can just keep running prints over and over and over, and it'll stick to the bed. But a big problem is this sheet that it comes with. You can see the glue stains right here and the glue all around it. To put glue on it, to have it stick, $1,000 printer, and you need a glue stick to make it stick, that is unacceptable. I do not like that at all. So a lot of people just get a new textured PEI sheet or new different B plates because it's A, B, C plates. This is the A plate that it comes with. Get a B plate if you do get this printer. Get a textured PEI sheet and do not look back, because it'll save you so much time of putting glue, using isopropyl alcohol, using wipes to wipe down the bed and clean it off, to use isopropyl alcohol again. No one wants to do all that. You have a $1,000 printer, you don't need to do all that. So that is my really gripe with it. That's gonna do it for this video. A different type of video than I usually make. I just like seeing all the reviews from like Frankly Built, Uncle Jesse, the people I look up to in the 3D printing community. I like seeing their reviews, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make my own 6-month review video and see how it does. I only got this printer because Frankly Built said this is an amazing printer, and I needed the build size, I needed the size, and I needed the speed, and I needed the reliability. I was so tired of tinkering with my printer, having clogs every day, having to replace things, do this, that, and the third. I was so tired. You still need to tinker with this printer, and I like the tinkering aspect. I like rebuilding stuff and making stuff work again, but you don't need the stress of like, okay, if I do this, let's hope it works. It doesn't work, I have to retake it apart. I did not like that. So I really like Frankly Built's video on it and Uncle Jesse's video on it and their reviews about it, so I decided to make my own. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope I convinced someone to buy this printer or even look at this printer, because it's definitely worth it. I promise you this printer will do you well in the future if you get this printer. And if you do decide to get this printer and you got it from my video, leave a comment down below saying, you know what, you convinced me, I'm buying this printer. Or if you have different thoughts about this printer and you don't like the printer, leave it down in the comments below. Just let's have a discussion. If you like the printer, you don't like the printer, let me know what printers you do have. Let me know how your printers is serving you. Let's talk. I love my community. I love you guys. So let's talk. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, your night, whenever y'all motherfuckers is watching this video. And as always, DMB on top. Peace.